The Dragon Severing Lock is usually the final line of defense used for a fortress. It's designed such that one would be unable to break it unless one's cultivation reaches the required level. Even the celestial designer who set the trap up himself would find it hard to open it. Hallmaster Sam's complexion darkened. This was the final resort of celestial designers, similar to how a cultivator self-destructs when forced into a corner. Unless the circumstances were dire, no one would go to such an extent. Usually, it was only to block out one's enemies or to die along with one's nemesis such that a trap would be activated. The moment it fell, there was no way to undo it. Even dragons would be unable to enter, thus the name Dragon Severing. Unless one's strength surpassed the tolerance limit of the wall, one wouldn't be able to break it. In this case, it was Transcendent Mortal Level 9. Otherwise, it was futile. Then, doesn't that mean that we can't leave? Even the strongest of them was only a Transcendent Mortal Level 4. Under such circumstances, wouldn't they be locked down here forever? How could they leave the area if they couldn't break the wall? Let me take a look. Frowning, Xavier walked up to the stone door, touched it with his finger, and a book appeared in the Library of Heaven's Path. Grade 6 Dragon Severing Lock. It's crafted from a unique material, making it extremely resilient. Flaws: number 1, the crafting method. After reading through the book, Xavier's expression turned extremely awful. Even though Dragon Severing Locks had their flaws, it wasn't something that someone of his level of strength could exploit. In other words, what the other party said was true. No one of strength below Transcendent Mortal Level 9 could break this wall. What should he do? Were they really going to be trapped down here until their death? Just as Xavier was ransacking his mind for a solution, Franklin's voice echoed.
There's no need to worry. Since he intends to possess one of us, there must be another escape route. Otherwise, how does he intend to get out?
Everyone was stunned for a moment before their eyes lit up. That's right. Since this fellow was going to possess one of them, he must have an escape route ready for himself. After all, how could he plunge himself into this kind of desperate situation? We can find a way to leave after we deal with him. Our most imminent danger isn't regarding our confinement, Xavier said. Even if they couldn't get out, the rations in their storage rings were sufficient to sustain everyone there for several years. Factoring in the spirit stones they had on top of that, they would be able to survive for the time being. Currently, the greatest threat they were facing was the owner of the tomb. If they didn't find and eradicate the hidden soul oracle, they would surely be unable to get out of there alive. Hearing Xavier's words, the voice harrumphed coldly.
Deal with me? Are you sure you have the capability to do so? Regardless of whether we do or not, we still have to give it a try.
Stepping forward, Jim flicked his wrist and took out a jade bottle. Then, he carefully surveyed the surroundings, trying to find the other party's location.
Give it a try? Let me show you how laughable that idea is, then.
After that, a ray of light suddenly shot across the hall. Before Jim could react, he was struck squarely on his chest. He flew back and crashed heavily against the wall. Huge mouthfuls of blood gushed from him. Not expecting that the strongest member, Jim, would be defeated in a single move, everyone clenched their fists tightly. To be capable of subduing a Transcendent Mortal Level 4 in an instant. Even if the other party wasn't a 6-star Soul Oracle, he wasn't someone that they could deal with. Even though Jim was injured, Xavier didn't panic. Rather, he made use of this opportunity to quickly glance in the direction where the light had appeared from. A book appeared in the Library of Heaven's Path. Xavier hurriedly flipped it open and read through it. It's an attack from a mechanical trap? Xavier frowned. The previous attack hadn't come from the Soul Oracle, but rather a mechanical trap. In other words, it was impossible for him to locate the other party from the previous attack. Upon seeing Xavier's action, Deke immediately sent a telepathic message.
It's impossible for the Soul Oracle to show any opening that would betray his location. Otherwise, we would be able to guard against him and hinder his possession.
That's true. Xavier nodded his agreement.
When a soul oracle possessed the body of another, they would enter through one's acupoints. If one were to seal the acupoint in advance and repel the soul oracle, it would become extremely difficult for the soul oracle to succeed. After all, what the soul oracle was doing was expelling the original soul of the body and forcefully fusing their soul with it. If the original owner were to struggle violently, it might cause irreparable damage to the body. If so, it would be meaningless even if the soul oracle successfully possessed the body. This was the reason why that fellow would not allow himself to be noticed until he struck. Besides, it was also possible that a member of the group might have some specialized equipment to deal with souls. This would put him at risk.
Ha ha! Don't even think of finding me. It is impossible for you to kill me. You're all still too weak.
Hearing the telepathic conversation between the duo, the voice continued haughtily.
Since you have entered my tomb, you should have been prepared to be possessed. However, I can only possess one of you, so the rest will be safe.
Safe? Like it would be that simple.
Hallmaster Sam harumphed. Given how the other party had locked them all in this chamber, how could it be so simple? He didn't believe the other fellow would allow any of them to leave after successfully possessing one body. After all, soul oracles were a forbidden existence. If news that one had possessed the body of another were to get out, that person would surely be pursued to the ends of the world.
By safe, I meant that you won't have to die for the time being. As for how long you can live for, it'll depend on your choice.
The voice chuckled. Choice? Xavier frowned. The voice said,
Indeed. I'll give you all 2 choices now. I have a total of 3 trials here. If you can clear the trials, I will consider sparing you. However, you still won't be allowed to leave. I will leave you here to do whatever you need to survive.
Trial?
Everyone was taken aback. Wasn't this fellow going to possess them? What in the world were their trials for then? Xavier was also perplexed. Usually, trials would only be prepared for the various examinations for master teachers and other unique occupations. Given how powerful the other party was, killing them should have been a walk in the park. What was the point of going through so much trouble? However, given that they were stuck now and that the other party had control over the mechanical traps, their fates were in the hands of the other party. No matter how bewildered they weren't in a position to reject the other party's conditions. What about the alternative option? Xavier asked.
The other option is that I'll kill you all one by one until someone is willing to challenge the trial.
The voice harumphed. Not expecting the second condition to be about the trial as well, the crowd felt even more baffled. What was this fellow's motive for insisting that they challenge the trial?
Could this be selection of the reception lamb?
Deke suddenly asked. Selection of the reception lamb? Xavier's mouth twitched. Selection of the reception lamb was a term commonly used by herders. Usually, when a guest visited, a herder would slaughter a lamb to welcome him. However, how to choose the most suitable lamb to welcome the guest warmly was a problem. Thus, they would allow the lambs to run in the fields. The one that ran the fastest and most happily would surely have the best meat texture. Could the Soul Oracle be intending to do the same as well? Through the trials, he would choose the one possessing the most suitable physical constitution to possess. This way, his soul could better fuse with the body, and the decline of his cultivation would be minimized. That's very possible. After contemplating the issue for a moment, Xavier nodded in agreement. There was a high possibility that this was the case. No matter how good a physical body was, as long as it was incompatible, one would be unable to bring out its full strength. Through the selection, he would find the most suitable constitution for him to possess. Otherwise, how could an ancient soul be so bored to seal the chamber using the dragon severing lock to mess around with them? More than likely, he had already decided on this when the group entered the tomb. The main reason he didn't make any moves earlier was to wait until they entered the passageway to seal their escape route. Only then did he finally reveal his existence. Hearing their conversation, the voice sounded once more.
That's right. I'm indeed choosing the finest lamb among you lot. Why? Are you afraid?
Afraid? Why would we be? Shaking his head, Xavier said, "Where is your trial? Bring it out so that we can take a look."
That's more like it.
Seeing Xavier agree to the matter, the voice sounded a little pleased.
Don't think that I won't lay my eyes on you just because you failed the trial. My selection criterion is your constitution, not the speed and means you use to clear the trial. Remember this. Only those who pass the trial will not be killed. Those who fail, regretfully, you'll have to bid everyone else farewell.
The ground tremored and a massive stone tablet appeared in the center of the hall.
This is the most basic soul-guiding formula of the Soul Oracles. Study it, and within 10 days, you must be able to draw your soul out of your body to clear the trial. Otherwise, the traps will eliminate you immediately.
The voice instructed impassively. Soul guiding formula? Looking at the stone tablet, Xavier saw a dense congregation of words. 3 large words inscribed at the very top seemed to pierce straight into one's soul, jolting one's consciousness. Soul guiding formula. The cultivation technique of soul oracles. Think that the first trial would be learning a cultivation technique. It seems like this fellow is trying to find one with a constitution compatible with the arts of soul oracles. Xavier came to a realization. Indeed, being capable of executing the soul guiding formula would mean that one's compatible with the arts of soul oracles. Possessing a body with such a constitution, the other party would be able to resume his cultivation and return to his pinnacle state. One who was adept at swordsmanship would naturally wish to possess a sword master. With a constitution suited for sword arts, it would be easier for him to relearn his techniques. As a soul oracle, the other party definitely wished to find someone capable of learning soul oracle cultivation techniques. It would be much easier for him to cultivate this way. Afraid that the group wouldn't put their effort into learning the soul guiding method, the voice added,
Don't bother trying your luck and waiting until the last day before drawing your soul out. It is completely pointless. Whether one has talent in soul oracle arts doesn't depend on how fast one grasps the soul guiding method. Besides, once you start learning the soul guiding method, you won't have a choice in the matter, and
However, before he could finish his words, the impassive voice of a young man said, "This soul guiding method seems not bad. Do you have any other similar cultivation techniques to this? The more there are, the better. Why don't you bring out a 1,000 books or so for me to browse through first?" The voice was taken aback.
1,000 books?